something very important to me personally as a writer. And I think it's something that's hovering over all of us, which is what on earth is going on in the world and in our imaginations, all of us. So I mean this to be inclusive. Whether or not you are a writer, I'm sure you are a reader. And those on the panel are faculty of this year's Under the Volcano, which, as you know, is a program of writing master classes across a number of genres, especially memoir, poetry, fiction, and now investigative journalism. The idea is to create a roof for accomplished writers, one might say of all ages, but largely 20s and up, with a kind of sweet spot in the 30s, not represented by us except for the case of one of our young reading fellows, who is also an alum of the program, and over here another one of our young reading fellows. The rest of us are various stages of our evolution as writers. And I don't mean by that to leave out Nelly Rosati, who's also a reading fellow. Right? So the thought was to sort of launch a conversation that's looking at some of the huge shifts in culture. And it's hard to talk about culture as a broad thing, and I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not a politóloga, but I am somebody who is addicted to the news and who thinks about what's happening on our planet, the Earth, the Mother Earth, the surface, and what's below it volcanically, what's above it in the sky, climate change, political upheavals, and those things, I think, feed our writing, whether or not we think they feed our writing. So today's conversation is in a way to think about, wow, you know, all of the things that are upon us, the changes in technology, digital media, the ferocious seeming clash almost of past, present, and future as everything enters a sort of timelessness where all things that have ever happened can be recorded, or anyway, things that are happening now. Everything is leaving a trace. Everything is going into silos, being stored in the cloud, which we know is a metaphor. It's not really up there. It's in vast buildings out there that we don't get to see. Is that a way to think about memory? Just the fact that all this data, every phone call we have, every contact we make, every text we send, is that what the future is going to know of us? And what about that future? Who is there? And when is it happening? Some of this idea was prompted by a meeting that I covered at the United Nations in the fall of 2017, where I worked periodically as a translator. Go into a room full of economists and development specialists, and it was one of those cumbres, I forget how you call that in English, a summit meeting of experts to think about robots. So we were sitting there taking notes and translating about robots when all of a sudden a thing named Sophia was rolled out. Fabulous, beautiful face, some kind of a headdress, and Sophia gave a speech to the delegates and entered into a dialogue with an actual human. Sophia was a robot, and is a robot that comes in a number of skin tones, can have any number of eye colors, hair, and be dressed in any kind of identifiable national costume from the waist up. From the waist down, she's just on a platform like this. It can be wheeled around. And people were so stunned. The message Sophia wanted to deliver was, you know, we should be working together. We, robots, and you, experts in development, because we're going to be here in a couple of years. We're coming, we're on our way, and there's a lot of things that we can do that will make your lives much easier. We can be part of the development plans of the rest of the 21st century. We can go places where humans can't, and we can go places where maybe humans shouldn't, because we're like indestructible. So if there's an earthquake, you can send in a battalion of people like me, Sophia, and we can save people. And it'll be much better than sending in peacekeeping forces, for example, into areas of conflict. That's the UN term for war. Anyway, it was stunning, and it was also stunning to see how people reacted. And there was another speaker there who suggested, implied, that he already was morphing. He was still human, but he had attributes of the next generation that's coming. And he called himself an augmented human, meaning he was enhanced. He was a new model. He had stuff implanted. So I don't know if it was true or he was just pretending for theatrical reasons, but he stopped in the middle of a sentence as I'm about to, and he tapped his head, and he said, "Oh, that was Siri." So he was basically saying, you know, we're going to have Siri in us. And I think this is actually probably in process. This stuff is happening. So those were some things that prompted me to think about how near some of the things that we used to think of as science fiction are. I mean, I don't know how much of it is really fiction, this stuff. People will still be writing science fiction or fantasy fiction or futuristic fiction, but much of what we think of is, oh yeah, long after I'm gone, you know, our great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren will be running around all wired up or something like that. It's really upon us. So what does that do when the future appears to be almost colliding like a meteor with the present? And what happens to what we so, some of us anyway, cherish about the past, the near past, the far past, things that we feel are so important to memorialize? I mean, our whole vocabulary about memory uses these words. To remember, to not forget, to preserve for future generations, for posterity. Is there going to be a posterity? And what kind of energy drives our own writing? What matters? So, Under the Volcano has, under many of these notions, decided to launch Under the Volcano. It's like the royal we relaunched the hashtag Words Matter, because I feel that whatever is coming towards us, we are writers. There will no doubt still be writers. We're at the dawn of a new millennium. A lot of terrifying things are happening, but there's also this volcanic potential that Lisa Valenzuela alluded to the other day on Friday night's event about volcanoes. So what are the words that matter? What matters to bring across in our own writing? What are we thinking about? What do we care about? How has all of this stuff that's in our faces affected some of the most basic notions that go into the work in the different genres represented here on the panel, which are poetry, fiction, non-fiction, memoir itself? Does it change our sense of the passage of time around us? Does it change our sense of the passage of time within a work itself? Are we writing for an audience that takes things in faster, that thinks faster? So I'm interested in all these things myself as a novelist and as a writer in different forms. I think it's just really fascinating stuff. And there's also the relationship between the writer and the reader, the implied reader. Who are you writing for? And what is your sense of structure and form in these contexts? There's many other things we could be talking about, but this is what we're talking about today. And I want to turn the conversation over to this wonderful lineup of writers. Thank you.